What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best Chaos Demon Witch build in Path of Exile 2. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of the setup. Then I will explain what skill gems and upgrades should you focus on. Then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it for both leveling and endgame. And then finally we will go over the passive tree, attributes, your skill rotations, and even what Atlas passive should you use. So we will be able to get the highest chaos damage possible and much more. If you're looking for this build on the website, then click my link in this video description or the pinned comment. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides POE2 services like cheap currency, then even to trade all types of quality items and gems and much more. They have also more than 20,000 positive comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 6% off. This setup is known as the Chaos Demon build, which has low life but very high energy shield, where you are constantly balancing your health bar as a resource to fuel your demon flame. The more flame stacks you get, the more damage you deal, but the harder your form is to maintain. However, this build is very cheap to acquire, and very strong already in the beginning stages of progression. On top of this, for our gear we want to build as high life regeneration as possible. So if you like to destroy everything that stands in your way, and don't mind a bit of a build up to get to the highest damage possible, then this is the one for you. So let me show you the build, and for the main class I have chosen to go with the Witch, and our Ascendancy is the Infernalist. Then for the first skill we have the Hex Blast with the support gems such as Inspiration, Arcane Surge, Control Destruction, Arcane Tempo, and Chaos Mastery. Then second we get Contagion with Chaotic Freeze, Hinder, and Encumbrance. Then next we have Blasphemy with Despair and Magnified Effect. Next we have Withering Presence with the Clarity. Next up we have the Essence Drain with the Swift Affliction and Venom and Persistence. Next we got Grim Feast with the Cannibalism and Clarity. Next we have Arctic Armor with the Cold Mastery, Glacianation, and Deep Freeze. Then next we got the Demon Form with a Second Wind and Vitality. And finally, for the last one we are using Summon Infernal Hound with the Last Gasp, Elemental Army, Meat Shield, and the Culling Strike. As you can see, most of this setup is structured around using the Hex Blast and the Demon Form to delete enemies in seconds. So we use gems and skills that will support and increase their size and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next we also have a leveling build in case if you're starting your journey from level 0 and you want to use it up until about level 25, where you should start getting our most important skills. So first off we have the Contagion with the Chaotic Freeze and the Hinder. Then next we have Essence Drain with the Arcane Tempo and Control Destruction. Next we got the Unearth with the Minion Instability and Fire Infusion. And finally we are using the Skeletal Warrior with the Meat Shield and Elemental Army. This is your basic setup up until you get our build's two most important skills. In the early stages of progression we are using the Contagion and the Essence Chain as our main ability combo, as they are very powerful especially at the beginning. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you are interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and our main objective is to look for energy shield and a mana regeneration. Then also we'll get some cast speed, AoE effect, utility in the form of the anti-stun and the anti-freeze, and finally we also need Jewel sockets. So first off we start at this energy shield node, and then get all of these. So Open Mind, Pure Energy, Practice Signs, Dampening Shield, and a Mana Blessing. Then second of all we want to move to the right and then get all of these. So the circle plus the zone of the control and the aestheticism. Then now we want to circle back, and then from here just keep on going until you get to the Arcane Blossom. Then next we want to move until to the end and then move to the right. And then from here unlock all of these nodes. And then from this point and onwards you can unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you prefer. Also, keep in mind that all of these nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they're the most important ones to acquire early on in the game, to make our build functional, and then in the late game to make it even more powerful. Also, as far as attributes go, you just simply want to fulfill your attribute requirements for gear and skill gems, and then after that spend the rest of your leftover attributes into more intelligence. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for Ascendancy build, this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the Demonic Possession to get the Demon Form skill, then second get the Loyal Hellhound, then next we want to go with the Altered Flesh, And then finally, go with this small spell node and the mana node. In PoE 2, earning skill points take a lot of hard work, so it will be very smart not to spend your points recklessly. Of course, you can refund them later, but only at a cost, so following a specific setup is extremely useful. If you're following this build, then make sure to not to deviate from it, as some of the decisions that I made might not make sense at first, but is going to pay off later. So, feel free to use the exact same path as I have right here, and don't forget to check this video's description to find the link for this website, and this should make it easier for you to follow the tree. And next up we have our Atlas passives. So when we start, we wanna first of all go to the left side and then get all of these nodes, and then keep going until you get to this keystone called Deadly Evolution. And then from this point and onwards, you can unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you want. But then on top of this, we have even more passives. Which order in which you unlock them doesn't really matter, so again it's up to you. And this is how it should look like for the ritual. Then next we have Delirium. Then third we have the bosses, and then on top of that we have the pinnacle bosses. Then next we also have our expedition setup, and then finally our breach setup. Next we have our gear. This time our weapon and the offhand doesn't really matter, because when we transform into the demon form, which is going to be pretty much 24/7, then the game stops scaling the damage from our weapon, so which one you choose doesn't really matter. But then while you're leveling and not yet ready to take the leap into the main demon form, then for the weapon and the offhand you want to go with the attuned wand and the crystal focus. While for bonuses, you want pretty much anything that will increase your spell damage and life regeneration. Then for helmet we have the expert chain tiara with the energy shield, and for more we want max and increased energy shield, then also max mana and fire and cold resistance, as well as life regen every second. Then for the chest we have the ghost wrath with the energy shield, and for more we got max energy shield, chaos resistance, and most importantly 50% of the max life is now converted to the energy shield. This is yet another reason of why we want to build life and shield as high as possible. But like per most of my builds, this item is not required, and you can go with similar chest pieces as well, but if you're looking for the best in slot, then this is the one for you. Then for the belt we have the utility belt with 20% flask recovery, and for bonus stats we got max mana, cold and lightning resistance, as well as life regeneration per second. Then for gloves we got the expert Sombri gloves with the energy shield, and for more we got max and increased energy shield, then max mana, and finally fire, cold and lightning resistance. Then for boots we're using the expert feathered sandals with the energy shield, and for more we got increased movement speed, max energy shield, max mana, fire and cold resistance, as well as life regen every second. Then for the first ring we got the Minx heart. Again, this is not required, but for bonuses we got chaos resistance, reduced max life, but now we gain from 30 to 40% more damage as extra chaos damage. As we have built insane amount of life regen and energy shield, so we can easily sacrifice this and trade a bit of defense for insane amount of damage. While then for the second one we have the ruby ring with the fire resistance, and for more we want max energy shield, life regen every second, and fire and cold resistance. And then finally for the amulet we got the gold amulet with increased rarity to items. And then for more we need max energy shield, max mana, more to spirit, levels of all spell skills, more percentage to all elemental resistances, and life regeneration per second. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is a starter setup, which would be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. Then next we have runes. During early item progression, most gear is sacred with resistant runes. However, once your elemental resistances have been capped, and resistant runes are no longer necessary, then you want to opt in to increase your maximum life, with body runes or consider sacting a soul core. So right now on everything, so the weapon, chest, head and etc, we are just using the iron rune. And as far as getting this gear goes, by far the best way to get better gear in the campaign is to check the vendor in the town each time you level up, as vendors can change their offerings based on your level, so this is the best way to find upgrades. And then after level 65, you just wanna keep continuing repeating your maps until tier 16. And again, for more in-depth tutorial, check out my gearing guide video. Then on top of this, we need to quickly look into the charms. Charms are incredibly useful, as by having the right one equipped at the right time can save you from dying. If you are struggling with certain bosses, then look into what damage type they are using, and then use that specific charm to increase your resistance. For me personally, I like to use the stone charm for stuns. Then second we get the Taving Charm for when I become frozen. And then finally we got the Amethyst Charm for chaos damage. But as I said, which one you choose will entirely depend on the enemies that you are fighting, so feel free to experiment and mix and match. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. And as you can see from the gameplay, this is one of the easiest and simplest builds in the game. So our main rotation is just to spam the Contagion and a Hex Blast for easy to kill monsters, which are most of our targets. But then specifically for bosses, you then want to use the Contagion, then afterwards the Essence Drain, and then finish it off with the Hex Blast. This will give you a great buff and insane amount of chaos damage for single targets. And finally, if you're low geared and run into a mana problem, especially against bosses, then try to get one Javel with the mana on kill or mana on kill from the offhand. Also, this might sound obvious, especially at the beginning, when you may not have unlocked the mana on kill, but if you run out of mana, then just simply cast less skills and wait. You will be doing very high damage anyways, so casting few less skills won't really impact the gameplay that much, but it may reduce your mana consumption, especially if you're undergeared or underleveled. So, let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't wanna miss my top 3 best witch builds video, where I showed even more powerful builds. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.